Nice.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Knowles and Dogs podcast, presented by Georgia and Florida State. So, you guys want to
Yeah,
send us
yeah.
sponsorship? Again, we're looking for sponsors. Throw them at
Please
us.
help us.
Um, no, today is our second episode,
Mhm.
episode 13, I think. I don't know. Again, I lost track
Hey.
a while ago. I could be pulling a number out of my behind. I don't know at this point. Anyway, this is our second episode that I know of that's coming to you in our our off season, and we actually got a pretty good lineup for you guys today. We got a bunch
Yeah.
of news in the college football transfer portal world, just college football news in general, swirling around because there's no off season in college football.
Yeah,
We're
right.
always on the grind, keeping up. Um, we'll be also doing so. We're going through that. Who's leaving programs? Who's staying for
Mhm.
extra years? Who's coming to the draft?
Yep.
A lot of that. Some other news going on, and then we're gonna do our college football head coaching grades. It's,
Yep.
semester's up, and we're time to final grades are due. Are in. We'll be doing a couple notable names. I think we got what do we got here? One, two, three, four.
12.
About 16 of them. I could
Oh,
be
okay.
wrong. Could be
16.
right. I gotta go through. Um, just some of the more notable names in college football. But some of them notable and did not do well. They
Yeah.
did not pass the class. So
So we got
college
some
football
failures this
101.
year.
Yeah, they did not pass college football 101, and they will be seeing us back next fall. Alrighty. So without further ado, uh, well, actually, before we start, Dylan, how are we doing today?
We're doing pretty good. I think we're doing pretty good today. I mean, a little bit late, but
Oh, we always record late.
I mean,
Nothing new.
just how it is.
Exactly. Exactly. This is the off season. We adapt.
Well, there is no off season in this sport. All right, this
I,
is
exactly. Because
part two.
before we
This is
know it,
part two.
we're going into the combine. We got pro days.
Hmm.
We got draft coming up. I mean,
Training camp.
Mel Kiper's
So.
spewing nonsense as usual right now. So that's a different story for a different time. Yeah, just you'll have to see. All right, so without further ado, let's get rolling into it. I have my note card right here, which has
Hmm.
our lineup on it. So we'll start with some notable news coming out of Gainesville. Jalen Rashada, he was a four-star cornerback.
Quarterback.
Was granted his I guess I don't know what you would call it, just like
He was
way out.
released. He was
He was
released of his national letter of intent.
yes. So after he supposedly signed a contract or like a contract like an NIL deal where he was
Hmm.
supposedly supposed to be making around $13 million. This is before
Yeah.
he would even have taken a single snap in college football.
It's before he
Let
put on
alone
a helmet.
exactly.
Like,
Um, he was supposed to. The plan was he was going to sign his letter of
mhm.
intent, get his money, and roll into this upcoming spring semester. So get ready for he'd be there for the spring workouts and all that.
Yeah.
But apparently after he signed his deal and all that, he apparently Florida didn't have the money. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what happened. Florida corrupt. I don't know how that's possible for a school that big. You can't pull $13 million if you're a quarter. If you want this quarterback so bad, why? How do you not have that kind of money? If that's
So,
what supposedly the deal was.
there's a lot of details to this story, and obviously, because of the way it is, we don't have all the facts about everything yet so far. But from what we've gotten, what happened was the University of Florida's biggest NIL group. You may have heard of them. They're called the Gator Collective.
Hmm.
Um, from what I've understood, they formed an agreement with Jaden Rashada's family, and it was a written contract where one of the larger boosters, they had believed that he would pay that amount of money without asking him if he was going to pay that amount of money. So when
Stupid.
time came up, he said, "No, I'm not paying six figures to a high schooler." So they tried to negotiate a deal with him, and obviously he
That deal
was,
fell.
yeah. And I think what's more worrying, if you're a Gator fan right now, is the possible likelihood that he might sue the Gator Collective.
For lying,
Because as
pretty
far as,
much.
yeah, because as far as we know, they signed a written contract that he
And
would be making $13 million, and then they tried to back out of it
yeah, you can't
after
do
he
that
signed
anymore.
an NIL, or
Can't
yeah,
do that.
NLI or whatever. So, I mean, it's an awful situation if you're Florida. Like
Oh yeah,
it makes the whole program
bad.
look really bad. It's gonna hurt them in recruiting bad.
Hmm.
I mean, there's not one good thing from this situation. Like not a
No,
single good thing in Florida's ballpark. This just
absolutely not.
proves more of that argument that, you know, every rival's fan base of Florida has, is that Florida doesn't understand NIL yet, which I think obviously you can tell from this situation they have no idea what they're doing at all.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, they
it's just it's bad.
it's not a good look for the university, for the football program.
Hmm.
Um, I really don't know whose shoulders it really falls on, because you could say it's on the Gator Collective, but you could also, I mean, you could trace it back to the coaching staff who,
Yeah,
promising all this stuff, and then but then you're not able to deliver it when it's time, like rent's due. Like,
yeah.
where's the money? And in this is a new day and age in sports, college sports, where it's it's the Wild West. You got to have the money if you want the big time guys. You're gonna have to pay, get a
Got to pay
little,
the big time bucks.
yeah. And that it's kind of embarrassing if you're Florida, because you're trying to claw your way back into relevancy from a football perspective.
Hmm.
You're at the bottom of the barrel in the state, let alone in the conference, let alone in the state. You finished with like let's see, Florida State, UCF. Would I mean, by the hair of your chinny chin chin, the maybe third best
I
third
think
best
even
record,
then, I don't
because
know actually, because
Miami was 5-7, and then FIU didn't do anything. FAU really didn't do anything.
I think FAMU would have beat them this year.
Maybe. I don't know about that, but
I mean,
um,
they lost to Vanderbilt. They went
yeah,
toe to toe with USF at home.
Vanderbilt was improved this year, I will say.
USF wasn't.
USF, no, it wasn't, and that was an embarrassment. I had the under in that game, and that cashed, so we lost with them.
Yeah, that was
No, that
bad.
was embarrassing. On all accounts, right there. Uh, and I just think, and we'll get to it later, but like,
Mhm.
I think the Napier culture is just not there right now. And now who they have playing quarterback?
I think right now it's either Jack Miller or Graham Mertz.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I'm
that's right. I forgot
researching.
Mertz is there. Forgot.
Those are probably the worst two options they could have had going into this
And it's
offseason.
well, I mean, it's got to be Mertz going in, because you saw Jack
Hmm.
Miller. I
Yeah,
mean, he obviously didn't do
but
anything.
we've seen the Graham Mertz story. You know what I mean? We know this guy. No
Oh
offense,
yeah.
is not
Well, I mean,
that guy.
this is what Florida's fans are going to have to deal with. It's no shot. It's just it's the truth. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are at the bottom of the barrel right now as far as football
Hmm.
programs go,
Yeah.
which is crazy to say from where that blue blood premier program was just maybe a decade, even a
I would
couple
say,
short years ago.
like 3 years ago, we were in a conversation that they could be playoff contenders, and now we're looking at them as they're probably going to be the worst team in the SEC going into next year. Like predictions
Maybe,
wise,
maybe.
I would,
Bottom of the air. They're not going to be the worst, because I mean, Vanderbilt's still Vanderbilt.
yeah,
I
but
mean,
I would
Vandy.
say if you go in with a preseason prediction though, you're putting Florida near the bottom of your SEC
I
teams.
still think Florida's better than like Missouri. Um, I still think they're better than Vandy, even though they lost. I think just from a talent
I
perspective.
mean, I agree with the talent perspective, but the most important position is going to be quarterback, and I'm going to be honest. I think they're probably going to have the worst quarterback in the SEC going into next year.
Oh yeah, well they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, like
Well
they
that's
just,
what we'll talk about this too, and we'll
yeah,
do closer to the next go like going closer to like preseason, we'll
Hmm.
do like we'll do our we'll have like a doc or something or written down a piece of paper like our conference predictions, like divisions, quarterback
Yeah.
rankings, all that. Um, but as far as Jalen Rashada goes, because that's what we're kind of leading with, Rashada um, was visiting Arizona State, and he's planning on
Hmm.
visiting Colorado too this weekend.
Yep.
Colorado is just Dion is doing whatever he really wants up there.
Hmm.
Um, that's kind of a different story for a different time. I'm not a huge fan of how the like the video going around this week, like the guy that like I don't know if he's a strength coach or something, like yelling like stand up or something like that. And they
Hmm.
have like the microphone and cameras in there, like
Yeah.
team meetings like that. I feel like
It feels more like a TV show than an actual
yeah,
like.
it's almost it feels like this something like that's gonna be like a reality show, that TV show
Hmm.
like on MTV or like True or oh shit, excuse me, what's the show? It's on
I say I would think like
TLC.
MTV,
TLC.
TLC, something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
what I'm
Just
thinking.
like
Yeah, it's
fake.
just like
Just feels fake. It doesn't. It feels forced.
yeah,
But
but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's Rashada. So
mm,
you know, hopefully he pans out to do something. Because you
mm,
don't want to also be like on his end where he's like he goes somewhere and he stinks. That
yeah.
would not be a good look. So um, we'll move on to our next thing on our list. Another more just this is more transfer portal news,
Hmm.
portal recruiting. Cormani McLean, who was a number one cornerback recruit in the 2023 class, right?
Hmm. Yep.
So he was originally committed like to Miami, and he never, and it was probably another NIL issue, but he
Yeah.
never officially signed. If I'm correct, right, Dylan? You know this more than I
Yes,
do,
you
but
are.
he
So
never showed up for his.
he didn't even show up.
He
Yeah.
never showed up for his letter of intent, like on signing day. Never
Hmm.
said anything about it, and then just I think another day or two ago, just committed to Colorado. Dion's got his guy, another guy.
Hmm.
He is now credit to Dion here, but and we just talked about how it's like feels kind of reality esque, but like
Yeah.
this is back to back years now. He's stolen. He's stolen pretty much the
Yeah.
number one overall recruits in the class of 2022, 2023. I mean that's hard to do for any coach. And Valona, he's
I
doing it
mean.
back to back years. He's getting kids that are already pre committed to big time universities. That's
Hmm.
credit to Dion. I mean,
Yeah.
Travis Hunter is pretty good. I mean, he's not no slouch. Is he a little undersized? Yes, but
Yeah.
he's no slouch. And now you got McLean. Hopefully, McLean pans out.
Hmm.
But I mean, you got
For the Buffs.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I do think his recruiting saga is a weird one because
but it's
there's a
kind of
part of it.
impressive,
It's impressive, but there's a part of it with Cormani McLean where he was lying about being in Tampa while on his visit to Colorado. I don't know if you paid attention to that, but that was a wild part of the saga where
nice,
somebody at Colorado took a picture of him like trying on stuff, right? Like uniforms, and that he posts on Instagram with a location tag in Tampa. He's like,
mm-hmm.
"What? No, I'm in Tampa, guys." But
Nice,
if you know Instagram, you know you can just search up any city you want, just tag yourself
right?
there, be like, "No, I'm here, guys." So.
That's funny. Yeah,
s-
um,
Sucks for Miami fans, but it couldn't be better for me.
right. I mean, Miami is just its own issue too. Like Miami and
Hmm.
Florida are really just competing to see who's going to be the worst team, the Power Five team in Florida.
Yeah,
I mean, UCF and Florida State run that state now.
especially since I think the biggest thing is Florida and Miami are in a bad position, especially since with the UCF jumping up to the Power Five level and
And
actually
Malzahn has that place rolling.
I would say they actually can recruit well there now.
Yeah,
Like
they
obviously
can.
they're not putting up top 25 classes yet, but they're in the top 40. I'm pretty sure this year.
We can look
Like
at.
UCF is. I
Why
mean,
don't you look that up for me?
yeah.
Look that. We're gonna. I mean, that was a sloucher of a bowl game they had against Duke, but I mean, Duke's got who's their coach? Mike Elko, who we don't have on the list for reporting cards, but I mean, he did a one heck of a job this year. He was the coordinator at A&M. I think he was the defensive coordinator at A&M. And he comes over first year and just gets the Blue Devils to I think 9 wins, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. That's one heck of a job, one heck of a coaching job for Duke to be, who was kind of sitting in just that pit of mediocrity and just not really doing much. But I mean, maybe have a couple of good years. But like Elko's got something brewing there. I think a bunch of first year coaches were doing that. But credit to Mike Elko. But
Yes, I'm
back to
looking
it.
at it right now. So 24/7 has them at 55, but On3 has them at 44.
So yeah, I
Both
mean
of
they're
them, they
no
also
problem.
have two 4 stars that signed.
Yeah, I mean, and they had
Yeah.
a Gator flip.
Hmm.
They had a guy from Florida. It was originally going to make flip
Yep.
to UCF. So listen, they go into the Big 12 next year. It's right next year, right?
Yep. This
They
season, this
yeah.
coming
So
season, they'll be in the Big 12.
if they go in and compete, I think they will. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't think TCU I think has a step back. I mean, honestly, this year they were if the ball bounces a couple other ways, they may not even be in the playoff. Um, so I think UCF has a shot to really come in. John Rice Plumlee's back. Uh, I think if they can go in and do well, they watch. I'm telling you that recruiting that's going to go up even more. And Malzahn knows how to do these things. And um, that's just how. I mean, if you know the game, you're pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
I think so. That was Cormani Brown, but I think we to tie it up at like Florida U State UCF.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're kind of in their own area. Um,
Yeah.
it's just we'll talk. I'll talk about it a little bit here with Napier. We'll talk about him as a report card, but
Say it's
he's
kind of a
yeah.
stinky one this year. I gotta be honest.
It's
His first season was a little stinky.
I saw a tweet, and I know we're kind of getting a little off topic, but I saw a
Hmm.
tweet the other day, and it was like from somebody, I forget who it was, but they were like the worst thing. You're looking back at it, the worst thing they could have done was fire Dan Mullen.
Yeah.
There was, and it was like it was an article, it was like a link, but it was like one bad season led to the panic button being hit too soon,
Hmm.
and that pretty much you had the one bad season, the 2021 season, and they fired him midseason. And I think
Yep.
someone said like they saw how like Georgia and Florida State were creeping up or coming up. I mean, Georgia won the title that year, but
Yeah.
like Florida State was coming up, like recruiting wise, all that, and they panicked, and now you're stuck with this.
I
You're
think the
stuck with your own decisions because they all have consequences.
I think the biggest thing out of well, let's not get too off topic, but I think the biggest thing
No,
at a school like Florida is you can win with a Dan Mullen kind of guy who isn't obviously he's not an elite recruiter, but the University of Florida, the name itself sells. Like
oh yeah,
you
no,
don't have to be Kirby Smart at Florida to be good. You know what I mean?
hmm
You can be Dan Mullen and put up top 10 classes every year, win games, but like obviously, yeah, he struggled with a bad quarterback. No,
yeah,
I don't think it's a controversial statement to say Emory Jones was not a good quarterback.
no. I mean, look at him what he did this year at Arizona State. Didn't do anything.
Exactly. Like, I don't.
Didn't
Is
do
he
anything.
playing Power Five football next year?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
He might have transferred. I don't remember.
I think he entered the portal. I didn't see if he went anywhere, but it's not like it matters.
All right. So we'll move on. We'll talk more about all that stuff later on.
Yeah,
Different segments throughout the off season. No off season. Forgot. We're gonna call it. We gotta think of a name. Um,
the rest area. All right.
no. Yeah. Maybe.
And the time before the combine is kind of like the rest time, right? Or I guess we're finishing up recruiting still.
We're we're stopping at the local Cracker Barrel off the exit,
Exactly. Yeah.
and we're pit stop. Pit stop time. Anyway. All right. We'll move on to just some other transfer news. These kind of just
Hmm.
we'll go through it a little bit. Nebraska lands Eric Gilbert, who's a former Gatorade All American Player of the Year back in 2019. This will be
Hmm.
his third team now. He will join other Georgia Bulldog, MJ Sherman, I think, in Nebraska. Matt Rule picks up. Gilbert's good. some of the off the field stuff. I don't know. There wasn't really any other details that came out like why he never got to play.
Hmm.
He would dress, and then sometimes he wouldn't even make the trips. I think they were, I think, more helping him out with his off the field stuff. More like he had, I think, 2 touchdowns this year. He had one against Vanderbilt. I'm forgetting the other one, but yeah, he's one heck of a guy. I mean, if you turn on the Georgia spring game from last year, he had like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Really good athlete. Just some of the off the field stuff has kind of gotten away a little bit. Not like bad stuff, just like not like anything crazy bad. Just like stuff like his like inner demons and kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if he can just get it one good season in, like has he has really good potential. He just has to get out there on the field. But a good pickup for Matt Rule in Nebraska. I still think Nebraska's not going to do anything, but hey, you never know.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on, and I know you'll have an input with this. Ole Miss is. I was going to bring up. I'll kind of tie it in here in a second. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin have become transfer portal. I call masterminds or just.
Yeah.
Just. I don't even know the word, but he knows how to run that thing and pick out who he wants. He just got Walker Howard and Spencer Sanders within like days of each other. These are two good, really very good quarterbacks. The only issue is now, he just got another cornerback from North Texas. And I know I'm going to ask you about this in a second. What do you do with 3 quarterbacks now? Because now you have Jackson Dart, Walker Howard, who came from LSU, and Spencer Sanders. Who do you think starts, and what would you do if you have 3 quarterbacks? Because
You go first.
Sanders is senior, right? He'll be a senior.
Yeah.
And Walker Howard will be a redshirt or freshman, sophomore.
He'll be a redshirt sophomore. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure.
Perfect. All right, I'll let you have the floor.
Thank you.
Go.
I think Walker Howard's going to win the job out of camp.
Okay.
I think he'll be the starting quarterback. But I do think Spencer Sanders will get playing time, even if it's in like a wildcat kind of situation or whatnot, because Lane Kiffin really does know how to mix up that offense to make it extremely multi-dimensional and just hard on defenses to read. I think the big question is what happened to Jackson Dart, because I really do feel like he's the odd man out here. I mean,
yeah.
Let's just be honest. He didn't have a great season. He
struggled mightily down the stretch.
He looked extremely underwhelming, and I don't think they would be going this hard in the portal for quarterbacks if they didn't feel like we need to upgrade at this position.
Yeah.
So that would be my 2 cents. Is I do think Walker Howard, because I do think he's the guy with the most potential, and you know what you have with Spencer Sanders, and I don't think with this Ole Miss team that's really knows how to mix it up really all the time. I think we're going to see a lot of Walker Howard. But what do you think?
I would see. I haven't really watched Walker Howard a lot because he never even really got played a whole lot. Because it was Jalen Daniels and then Gavin Nussmeier came in for the SC title game. So I don't even know if he was dressing. I don't know if they just redshirted him.
It was he didn't really dress too often, but the thing is, he was one of those guys out of high school that you were like, wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you watch some of his high school tape, he could really throw that ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sanders will start. The only reason why I say this is because I think experience matters.
Yeah.
Some, especially in these. I think experience matters, especially in these bigger conferences. Sanders, I mean, he's from the Big 12, but he has so much experience. He knows I think he fits that Kiffin system well, where it's just gunslinging it.
Yeah.
The only thing with Sanders is he tends to get he's a tad bit, he gets injured a little bit more than you want sometimes. He does turn the ball over. He does struggle at times.
Yeah.
But all Ole Miss quarterbacks do at some point. I think it's almost going to be. I think Dart's out. I think he's going to transfer.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's almost like a done deal. It's kind of like a slap in the face if you just watch your team pick up 2 highly talented quarterbacks out of the portal.
Hmm.
Like you're sitting there like, okay, how we doing, guys? But yeah, it's like I think he's gonna be gone soon. I mean, from a confidence standpoint, I mean, what are you supposed to do with that? I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta go. I mean, that's just a shot. It's like a slap in the face. Um, but yeah, I think Sanders starts this year. I think they mix in Al Howard. Um, but I was just gonna say, we were talking about Colorado earlier. I mean,
Hmm.
Dion and Lane right now are like the transfer portal, just gurus at this point. From just like, oh, you kind of wake up one day, you're like, man, I'm kind of feeling this position, and he just goes out
Yeah.
and gets him. I'm kind of feeling a quarterback today. He just goes and gets him. I need a cornerback. Who I got? I'll take you. Give me him. Like, it's right now. I mean, it's still early for like Sanders, but like Kiffin has shown, like, dude. I mean, if he can get just a couple good, better guys on defense, and again, this is
Hmm.
why the portal's so big. I mean, like you can just get whatever. I mean, like they have some pieces. They always seem to like they get off to a great start, and then they're like a sprinter that just can't always
Yeah.
stumbles or something right before the finish line, and just can't recover at that point. I mean, they were like I think
Started out 6-0.
they were 6-0 or
Hmm.
something like that. I think they
Yeah.
were like 7-2 or something, like
It
eight
was,
and
yeah,
three.
they started the season 6-0.
They then they went like two and
Hmm.
five or something like down the stretch. Like
Yeah.
not good, not good.
But I will say in a lot of those games, it was one possession, very close. Just
Or
came
like
down to like mistakes by a couple guys like
mistakes,
Jackson Dart
mistakes,
and
going for it on fourth down,
hmm
one too many times. Yeah. I mean, let's see, because I saw again. I think I've said this stat before. Like Kiffin has never beaten as a head coach or something like, or maybe it's just as an Ole Miss coach has never beaten a team over 500 time of playing them in the conference.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's anything. Only thing I would think of is he did beat Mississippi State last year.
Oh, was it or no? It was a winning or a winning record in the like as in like in conference play, something like that. Like
Maybe
where
I
like
don't
a
know.
team like
That's I
didn't
mean
have
I
a
just don't know.
or like didn't have
Yeah,
like a 500 record or something. At least a
in
500 record in
conference.
conference play. Um, he beat up on the little
That,
guys,
I
but
again I don't know though because he beat A&M last year when A&M went what 8-4.
yeah. But what was their conference record?
Probably what 6-2 or six
They
and
didn't go
four
8-4 last year, did they?
last year.
Hmm. Well, I'm just spewing stuff anyway. I mean, unless you want to look that up.
Yeah, they went 8-4.
What was their conference record?
Pulling it up.
There's a stat out there. It's something related with like records and Kiffin. It's not the best stat
I
to be a
guess
part
yeah,
of.
they didn't have a winning record in conference. They went 8-4, but 2-6 in conference.
Boom, bada bing. There it is. So if you beat them, but like, listen, you well, we got
No
when A
wait,
and M.
that was this season. Never mind, that was this season. Sorry,
Oh, well, kind of. I mean, they beat them, so technically,
A&M went 4-4, so maybe it's above 500.
there you go. Um, but yeah, I think Sanders starts. You think Howard starts? They'll
Hmm.
figure something out there.
Yeah.
I just think experience, and it's his fight last year. I think they'll let him play because you still have Howard. Howard, I think you would know at this point. Like, listen, it's the job's pretty much could be mine. Let me just sit out one more year, learn the system. If they need me, I'm ready. But
Hmm.
all right, we'll move on
Yep.
to kind of ties into some Georgia transfers.
Hmm.
Um, quickly noting, Lad McConkey and Cedric Van Pran Granger. Gosh, I think I messed up the name. Anyway, our center, both returning through their final seasons. Huge news for Georgia as they will return three starters on the line now on the O
Hmm.
line, which is big. I mean, I think it's Ratledge, Granger, and Xavier. No, Xavier Trust was senior. Well, T's and P's Dominic Wilcock. or Devin Wilcock, who was supposed to be on there. Yeah, that's sad. But that's where I think if you should know by now if that happened. Cedric Van Prank Granger, I wrote that down. Ratledge, Granger, and someone else. I'll get I'll get back to you on that.
Hmm.
Anyway, so they're staying, which is huge news.
Yeah.
Marcus Rosemary Jack Saint, one of our better receivers from last year, also coming back, which is big time, because with the latest news, so Jaheim Singletary, who was a 5-star, we might have talked about this a little bit. I don't think we did. He's transferring. Rumors Florida State is a landing spot that he'll be in. He's a really talented guy. He's a 5-star.
Yeah.
Didn't really play a whole lot. Dalen Everett, who was another talented 5-star defensive back, kind of took over and was getting more playing time and was going to probably get more start playing time next year. I think he knew that. Kudos to wherever he actually lands. I think Florida State though is a landing spot, and you guys could probably use a defensive back.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
we land Fentrell Cypress. So, I mean, obviously the more the merrier, but we did land one of the top guys in the portal. So,
Yeah. Why is that? I mean, why
more the
stop with
merrier.
one?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, look at Kiffin. I want another quarterback. All right, and then we'll move on. So then A.D. Mitchell, who is one of the more important Georgia Bulldogs. He was pretty much our wide receiver one, but injuries killed him this year. He had a high ankle sprain that pretty much in like the first game of the year that plagued him all the way up until like the playoff. He's transferring. Rumors are Texas is his landing destination. Apparently, this kind of went back to like early December, and a lot of people, some people aren't happy about it because it's kind of like a tall tale of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like Texas, pretty much, not bribery, tampered. It was tampering, kind of in a sense, because you can't be offering people money and stuff in the middle of the season. And we know this is why. It's money here.
Yeah.
He had one of the biggest catches in Georgia history, in the national title game, and then a big nice touchdown in this past one. He scored a touchdown in every college football playoff game he played in this last 2 years. It's a little weird though. He was transferring only in the sense that next year was his last year anyway.
I was going to ask you though, I did hear a rumor about the possibility that he has a son in Texas, and that's why he might be moving. I don't know if you heard about that rumor or know any truth to it. Though.
I didn't know that. I know that he's from Texas. Texas was really trying to go after him when he was a recruit.
Yeah.
All I know is there was rumors like swirling back in like December that Texas was trying to get on his tail again. I mean, maybe just because you want to get some more targets.
Yeah.
I mean, he played plenty. He played all the time. He started. So, I mean, I know and I think this is possibly why now looking at it, like Kirby Smart was so big, like early in the portal, trying to go after like Dominic Lovett, Ra Thomas, like these two are top heavy hitters in the transfer portal. Like this is why, because he might have known about this already. Like,
I would say normally, yeah, the head coach normally, you always hope in a situation like that they have an understanding of where their players are mentally, right? That like,
yeah,
hypothetically, obviously we don't know for sure if that's true, but if he does have a kid in Texas and he's leaning towards leaving Georgia for Texas, you would think he has that at the front of his mind, like, okay, then we need to be on top of trying to land wide receiver targets right now.
yeah. I mean, why else would you just go after the top two
Exactly.
SEC
Yeah.
transfer people in the portal? Excuse me. I mean, it only seems right. So I mean, but now you have
yeah.
good.
No, it's one of those things where it seems like you had to have known ahead of time that something was coming.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure he knows about this stuff too. I mean, he's not stupid. He has sources and stuff, just like everybody else. But that will now. I mean, if you're a Georgia perspective, you still have 5 of your 7 starters coming back. I mean, you're still locked and loaded. I mean, you still have Bowers, McConkey, Jack Saint, Thomas now, Lovett. Who else? Dylan Bell.
Yeah.
You're still loaded. So I mean, there's that. And then Tresman Marshall, who is a linebacker for Georgia, is transferred to Alabama. He's the second year now a Georgia player has transferred to Bama. Jermaine Burton was last year. Solid player. He was a rotating linebacker. Didn't start, but he rotated in. I mean, I think he had 15, 16 tackles this year. I don't know. There's stats out there. I don't know off the top of my head. But he's a solid backer, but I think he just, like everybody else, he wanted more playing time. And Bama probably said, like, hey, come on down. But I think it is kind of funny. God, Bama fans on Twitter, they are relentless, in shambles.
Something.
They can't accept the fact that Georgia pretty much, and I'm not saying back and over. I'm just saying this moment. I think they can't handle the fact that Georgia pretty much runs this, is at the top right now in front of college football. At the top. I'm not saying like dynasty. No, I'm not talking like true kings. Like nobody else is better. Like right now, back-to-back champs. Like. They are the top kings of the sport right now, and they can't handle that. And they're trying to they're begging Glenn Schumann, who's our defensive coordinator, one of them, him and Will Muschamp, to come back. Like we want you, come home. Like, no, it's just funny. Like they can't stand it. Like they just can't handle the fact that we're awesome now. We're better than them right now. So.
Yeah.
I mean, who's playing quarterback for Bama next year? Do we know? Jalen Milroe?
I really don't know.
Is that smells like a maybe 10-2 year, 9-3? I watched that A&M game. I watched Milroe. That's all I needed to see. Yeah. So, all right, we'll move on to just two little things before we start our report cards. Just some notable names that recently came out for the draft. C.J. Stroud finally declared. Jordan Addison declared. Quentin Johnston declared. Trying to think if Bijan Robinson did, but he did it a while ago. Darnell Washington did, obviously. Some offensive linemen for Georgia. Nobody cares about offensive linemen now, so. I'm trying to think of anybody else you know of. Just naming off
top of my
people
head,
recent
declared.
stuff.
I haven't heard any more people declaring really. But to be fair, I think it's over now.
Yeah, because the deadline. Yeah, the deadline was
what, Friday?
2 days ago. 2 days ago, because C.J. Stroud waited to the last day to announce.
Yep.
Because Ohio State fans were begging him to come back. They thought he could. They thought that he could find a way to make first round money through NIL deals and stuff if he came back. Like, are you that dumb? Did we forget about incentives and bonuses? Like, no, that's not.
It's a lot of money to commit to a guy too.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Yeah, so congrats to them. I think C.J. Stroud earned himself a top 10 spot. He'll probably be a top 5 guy. Jordan Addison is going to be a late first, early second guy. Kenny Pickett wants him bad. I've heard reports about that. Like he's going to train. Jordan Addison's going to train with Pickett soon. I think I've heard.
Yeah.
Like that, they were. You remember watching them in Pitt?
They were good.
They were good. Like I'm not saying it's just like a Jamar Chase Burrow connection, but like when you have a connection with a guy that you've played college ball with, like you know their ins and outs, like you just have you have a feel for what they're gonna do. From if you're a receiver, quarterback, like you know what they're gonna do. Like that's big. That's a big advantage, and you see it with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow now. I mean, just how dominant they are together. Like that connection, it's wild.
I wonder what happens to George Pickens in that situation though. Because I
Pickens,
think right now he's to be the future one, but if Addison
that would be the case. I think you would have to trade Deontay Johnson, and we're getting off
Yeah,
the topic a little bit, but you trade Deontay Johnson, which I wouldn't be ever. I would never be opposed to that because
Butterfinger.
he whines. He's whining a little too much. He had the most receptions. He was the only receiver to have he was the first receiver ever to have over 50 catches in a season and not have a touchdown.
Yeah.
He's making $18 million a year to not score touchdowns. That's unacceptable. To be fair, the Steelers did finish dead last in touchdown passes. They only had 12 for the year. And
That's
yes, we
tough.
did.
That's
And you would think, hey, we're going to fire a defensive or offensive coordinator. No, they didn't. They retained Matt
Saturday.
Canada, so going to
Dealing with 6-year
go
extension.
some deep thinking after this to get myself ready.
For more
Anyway.
steal a ball.
Yeah, but George Pickens would probably go to 1, and then you would have Addison. I mean, that's people say be like, oh, what happens if one gets on? I mean, again, you could look at the Bengals. They have probably the best trio.
Mm-hmm.
Boyd, Higgins, and Jamar Chase are right there. I mean, you remember T. Higgins at Clemson? He was a beast. I mean,
I do think the problem in that situation though is obviously we're getting way off topic here, but you're not gonna be able to retain all those guys, right? So
well, no, you get rid of Johnson. I think you get rid of Johnson and you could probably get a second round pick for him, second or third. I mean,
I would say if they get anywhere near amount of this, like how the Bears had to give up for.
The Bears.
What did the Bears give up for?
The Steelers got a second round pick for Chase Claypool.
I say, and Chase Claypool, no offense,
stinks.
Terrible. You would
Thanks,
think
and they
get a
totally
first round pick for Deontay Johnson, then, right?
Totally fleeced him. The 32nd pick should be a first round pick, but the Dolphins got their first round pick taken away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but that would be a nice pickup as a Steeler fan. I wouldn't mind that. Anyway, we are getting way off topic. NFL football. That is draft time. We'll get to that.
Yeah, we got a lot to say about that later.
All right. Anyway, all right. So we'll move on to our final segment of the episode, and this is called Report Card.
Mm-hmm.
Grades are finally in for the fall semester, and again, we're seeing if your coach passed sports coaching 101. And we'll start with I think how we'll do this is I'll say the name of the coach, and maybe you'll give the letter grade and a brief explanation like why.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll start with Kirby Smart. Dylan, what was Kirby Smart's final grade for the semester?
I think it's probably one of the easiest answers we can give. I would say A+. Mm-hmm. Probably the best coach in the sport at the moment. Obviously, you always have the argument for Nick Saban, but I think at this current moment, it's very hard to argue against Kirby Smart being the best coach in college football.
I would 100% agree. Smart is at the top of this game. Mm-hmm. His relentlessness, his drive to be the best and just doing whatever it takes is mind-boggling to me. I mean, just the job he's done the last 2 years, 29-1. He's like 81-15 or something in his career so far. This is his only coaching gig. Like, it's insane. And I know it's not going to last forever. He won't last till Saban. I think there's a report he texted his wife or something before the Peach Bowl or the national title game, apologizing for not being as good of a husband or something.
Yeah.
He has 3 kids. He wants to be there around for them. So I think that his oldest is maybe in high school. But yeah, I think he wants to be there more for his kids. He's a family guy. So he'll be around he'll still be around for a while, but he's not going to last till he's 70. He's only 47. Yeah. He's not going to be around when he's 70. So A+.
Yeah, no. I give you A+ for sure.
A+. Okay. We'll move on to we can do John Harbaugh, but that's a different story. Jim Harbaugh.
The same grade.
Jim Harbaugh, Michigan. Dylan, final grade for Mr. Harbaugh.
A. Just an A. I wouldn't See, because it's very hard to be criticize Jim Harbaugh, especially these last 2 seasons, as he's beaten Ohio State twice. He's won the Big Ten twice. He's had back-to-back fantastic seasons. Obviously, he hasn't got it done yet in the college football playoff, but I think just going to the dance itself, especially when you are Michigan, I would give him an A right now. I think A, just flat though, not A plus.
A minus for me, and a
Okay.
couple of reasons why. Um, Undefeated season, beat Ohio State again, dominate Ohio State again. Like that's you're rolling. Like you're in A plus territory. You can't have a whole month to prepare and come out
Mhm.
into the playoff game like that and just crap your pants.
Yeah.
Like that was not good. Like you let TCU beat you, and TCU should never have beaten them. If those two teams played each other 10 times, Michigan probably wins 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they really should have lost that, and that all falls back on coaching. Not being able to score within the 5 twice,
Hmm.
turning the ball over, trick plays on when you have the Joe Moore Award winning offensive line.
Yeah.
Like coaching mistakes is the reason why he's not going to get an A for me. He's an A minus because of his record and that he beat Ohio State again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have that much time to go now lose your last 5 bowl games now.
I think it's
Um,
6.
6 now, excuse me.
Mhm.
Yeah, God, I was trying to help him out apparently. Yeah, you can't do that. Just yeah, you can't have a month off to prepare and then you come out lackluster like that. And then now Michigan, they're under investigation for some other stuff, but I don't want to get into the details of that.
Yeah.
So A minus for me. Harbaugh, solid job. He's coming back. There's rumors again he interviewed for some NFL spots, but he's coming back. Yeah, A minus. Ryan Day, Dylan, Ohio State.
I'm gonna give Ryan Day a B minus. And the reason
Okay.
why I give Ryan Day a B minus is because I think the easiest way to say it is not all programs are judged the same. Your
Mm-hmm.
job at one school is not the same as at another school, and at Ohio State, no offense, but you are expected to do 3 things, right? It's win the Big Ten,
Mm-hmm.
beat Michigan, win national championship. He hasn't done any of those 3, in the last 2 years at Ohio State. He has not won a national championship, and he is 1-2 against Michigan. So it's very hard for an Ohio State coach to get a high letter grade when he is probably the biggest ire of the fan base. And that's what I
Yeah.
would say about Ryan Day right now is a B.
Yeah, I would say B, too. Kind of like what you said,
Mhm.
I mean, again, it's the born on third base kind of thing, but
Yeah.
it's so hard I don't know how a coach with that much talent constantly is just not able to get over the hump.
Hmm.
You can't get, let alone beat by Michigan. I know this past year, the scoreboard, it kind of doesn't really dictate how it is. They had one bad half of football all year.
Hmm.
But it's just, it's hard. You can't go 1-2. You can't get beat like that. And then just some plays down the stretch in big time games where you get costed. It costs you games, and so he's got to do something. I do have to go back to a point you made about Michigan, just real quick. Kind of ties it all together, like your
Yeah.
expectations, like when you said Harbaugh, like you got to the dance. Like I think Michigan at this point, like that expectation's gone now. Like you're now
Hmm.
expected to competing for national title game, like getting
Yeah.
there and winning. Same thing Ohio State now. Like for Harbaugh, like Harbaugh, I know I'm kind of going backtrack, but like Harbaugh, it was like beat Ohio State first, and then,
Yeah.
but now you beat them twice. Like now the next step is you gotta win one for us. You gotta get
Hmm.
there. And for
Yeah.
Day, it's we gotta beat Michigan again now. Then we gotta get back and we gotta get over that hump and finally win.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll give him a B. Close to B plus range because of how he had one of his best coaching performances from in coaching and execution spot in that Peach Bowl.
Hmm.
Just some plays down the stretch there, which ended up costing him.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on. to Dabo Sweeney, Clemson.
So I'd give Dabo Sweeney this season a C minus, and I think that
Okay.
to be 100% honest, is kind of giving him more credit than he deserves. Because quite frankly, this was a talented Clemson team that was just mismanaged. That he just made decisions out of loyalty when he shouldn't have. It's one of those things where he has let in a season where Clemson should have jumped back to the top of college football, he kind of brought them even further out of the bigger picture with this season. I mean, I don't know another way to say this, but I mean, you won the ACC, but you won the ACC because the ACC has to play the Coastal, because the Atlantic has to play the Coastal in the championship. I don't think Clemson would have beat Wake, NC State, or Florida State a second time this year. Just from the way they played, I don't trust them.
So I'll
Especially,
give. Oh, go finish. Finish what you're saying.
Just with his loyalty to DJ, yeah.
So I'll give him a B,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of add on tie what you're saying, and I'll. Yeah, that well, to be fair, I do think you made a nice point right there at the end, like his loyalty, his constant loyalty to DJ. I don't want to say didn't hurt them as bad as it didn't hurt him as bad as I thought
Mm-hmm.
it would, as it appeared. If he plays that full game against the AC title game, I do think North Carolina has a legit shot at that, because I mean we saw Mac Brown was asked after the game. They did not prepare at all for K Klubnik. So
no, they didn't.
As crazy as a season it was, which started the year with, when their coordinators left, they decided to promote within.
Mm-hmm.
They gave Uiagalelei another year. It never worked out. He had like a little 3-game, 4-game stretch where he was kind of like, all right, maybe he's here. Like he's finally got it back together. And then it just went downhill again. You lost to your in-state rival, which cost you a spot at home, which cost you a legit shot at making the playoff. That's the only other reason why, like, as crazy as the year it was, like, they still almost made the playoff. They won the ACC. Yeah. They finished with 10 wins, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
10-3.
10-4.
They got 10-4. They got beat bad in the Orange Bowl, which was excuse me, kind of a not good luck because Tennessee was missing most of their key starters on offense anyway. And you could say they had their backup in quarterback, like, because Hooker was injured. But, that, even with all that, like, to still have 10 wins with pretty much no offensive skill players, a bad quarterback, a good quarterback that you didn't want to play all year, to do all that, like, I do think they'll turn it around a little bit next year. I think, didn't they just get Garrett Riley?
Yes, they brought in Garrett Riley from TCU.
So I do think that'll help, especially in the offensive side.
Mm-hmm.
The defense, I don't think is a little now overrated from where it was. So
it's just not as talented. It's just not as talented as it was a few years ago.
They had that little sprout when like Deshaun and Trevor were there, where they were just low. We had Lawrence, you had Andrew Booth, you had Dexter, or not Dexter Lawrence. I just said him. Crap, what's his name?
No, you had a lot of legitimate NFL guys on those teams. I can't remember. Yeah,
Cleveland Farrell. Who's the guy in Miami? Watson. Christian.
I was like, he was on game day. I forget his name.
Christian. Look it up.
Christian Wilkins.
Christian Wilkins. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Wilkins.
I mean, you just had constant guys who would. There was that linebacker. I can't remember his name. He plays for Arizona. It was like. Yep. All good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to say, no, you're good. I was say you just had like constant talent, like swimming in and out of South Carolina there. but I don't want to say it's dried up, but
Hello? Hear me?
hello, yeah.
Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
I don't want to say that the talent has dried up at Clemson, but with their refusal to touch the transfer portal,
His
with the
antics.
yeah, it just seems like he's pushing himself out of the spotlight of college football, and I don't know
A little bit.
what to say about that.
A little bit. All right.
And that's the only reason why I grade him lower than you.
I still, final thought because we got to move on. I still think he's the top coach in the ACC still. Until a team's able to consistently knock Clemson off that pedestal of being the top team in the ACC, he's still at the top.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, so we'll move on because we still got a bunch of them. We're only 4 in. Nick Saban, Alabama.
So I give his performance this season an A minus. He obviously had another great year. You know, they only lost 2 games in the season, but losing to Tennessee and LSU, your big rivals, barely skirting by Texas and A&M, it's just not the best look. But I mean, it could have been a lot worse, is what I'll say. With how
Yeah.
with them screwed by those teams, it could have been a lot worse than it really was. But it's a very disappointing year for Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I give him he's going to get a B plus for me.
Okay.
You struggled throughout the year. I mean, you lost a couple of games. I'm just sorry. I think something happened where with our thing.
It's all good.
Well, kind of. I think for some reason the audio stopped recording and then just restarted recording. So we have 1 54-minute seg. So now I got to figure out how to merge them together.
Okay.
Anyway, so we'll just finish and then tag it along.
Yeah.
Saban, I think B plus. Too many close games this year. We really honestly could have gone 8-4 and just been that. I don't know who they're going to have at quarterback. They finished the year strong though, beating Kansas State really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a B plus.
Yeah.
I think let's just start rolling through this.
Yeah.
Mike Norvell.
So I give Mike a B plus. With great turnaround season for Florida State. Obviously, there's a couple of moments where it was just disappointing, that mid-season stretch with NC State, Wake, and Clemson. But I thought it was a great season for Mike. And Florida State looks a lot better going into next year.
Gotcha. Hey, quick question.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, 100% agree. What does your timestamp say?
Mine says 57:53.
Okay, so actually it may have stayed. Maybe.
I think we're.
Because I'm at 3 minutes. Because my thing went out for a second.
I was gonna say I don't know if your microphone's recording right now. Because there's an echo to when you speak, so it might just be recording from your headphones, the microphone in your headphones.
Yeah. Well, just disconnected. Is there an echo?
No, you sound okay now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we're good.
Norvell, I'll give him a B plus. Had a little skid in that middle of the year, but they did finish the year strong. I think this next upcoming year is really the big year. All right, you turned it around, but now can you take that next big step? You got everybody coming back. You got some big transfers coming in. Can you take the big step?
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll move on to. We'll save him for later, a little bit later. Brett Venables, Oklahoma.
I think this is an easy D. They were highlights of the year, so I don't want to give them an F, but there were moments this year where they should have looked dead in the water, awful, downright awful. For a defensive-minded coach, they could not stop anybody from scoring on him all year. Just not a great look for Brett Venables in his first year, and obviously because he's going to bring in his own guys eventually, so you can't really completely judge him on his first year. But judging by his first season, terrible look for Brett Venables.
I'll give him a C minus, and I mean it's just a C minus, a 69.7.
Yeah.
And the only reason why is because he got bowl eligible.
Mm-hmm.
They got to a bowl game. They about beat Florida State.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, for the most part, it was a very up and down, mostly down year for them. Sorry, my thing's a little slow.
No, you're good.
Anyway, I'm just, this is just an inevitable downhill, a ship sinking. That's, that's what we are here. Anyway, Venables, they need to, he needs to find a way to get back to his defensive roots, because they were one of the worst defenses in the country last year.
Outright.
This past year. And that's not acceptable for Brett Venables. Yeah. Yeah, Venables stunk the defense stunk, so they got to figure that part of the ball out. If they do that, they'll be right back where they usually are. So, all right, we'll move on. Dan Lanning, Oregon.
Ooh, this is an easy A for me. First year, you win 10 games. You look fantastic doing it. And quite frankly, I think this Oregon team looked better than Mario Cristobal's team the year before. So, I mean, I don't think there's any grade you could give lower than an A for first-year head coach, bringing in a brand new system, brand new offense. Obviously, he lost his offensive coordinator, so you don't know if next year is there going to be a slight dip in production, but I think he had a great first year.
I'll give him a solid A too. Especially what he was able to do post that week 1 game where they got an absolute slaughtering by Georgia. Yeah. What he was able to do with that team in his first year, awesome. Like, just very good. Mm-hmm. They were able to help turn Bo Nix into a dark horse Heisman candidate. That offense looked explosive. And this is a defense. He's a defensive coordinator, former defensive coordinator. Like that, the defense looked good. It'd be interesting, like you said, like what do they do next year without Kenny Dillingham? Mm-hmm. But I mean, they looked more suited up. They looked more explosive than previous Cristobal teams. Like they look legit. And now, can they finally? It's kind of like Florida State, but it's been like what Oregon's pet peeve is. Like they got to be able to get to that next step. Can they get back to the playoff? Can they do something? We'll see next year. The Pac-12 is wide open right now.
Yeah.
Going into next year, so yeah, I'll give him an A. All right, we'll do some rapid fire here, and then we'll save some of our favorite people for last.
Yeah.
Just for these guys, let's just do quick. What your letter grade is?
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley.
A minus. I'd give him an A minus his first year.
All right, I would give him a minus as well. Just because you were able to get another Heisman winning quarterback. The defense is getting. You got to
give him a bad grade.
Defense has got to. You got to get someone figured out there. But yeah, so A minus for Riley. Steve Sarkisian.
B.
B minus.
I would say it was a season of highs and lows. I think. With
C plus. You know what? C plus
fair enough,
for me.
Fair enough. I just give him B because it was a season of highs and lows, but most importantly, I think he rejuvenated a lot of the hope for Texas, right? And he had some serious flashes of they could be great.
Too much inconsistency for a team that is supposed to have high expectations. Too much. That's all it is. If it's too much up and down, you got to be consistent. If you're Sarkisian, you're not getting paid that much money to be mediocre. So,
fair enough.
C plus for me. Sonny Dykes.
A plus.
I will give him an A plus too. For what he first year, able to turn that team all the way to the national title game. That game doesn't really show like what that team did. So I'll give him an A plus. Mario Cristobal.
I want to give him an F, but I'm gonna give him a D minus just because he has been pretty solid in recruiting. But other than that, the team looked downright like disgusting to watch. Like almost unwatchable football at times.
I'll give him an F. You're going in. I know it's your first year, but you're supposed to go in and change that program, bring people into the seats. You can't lose to Middle Tennessee State. You can't have a crappy offense. You bring in all these recruits. Figure it out. Jimbo Fisher.
F. Probably debatably even F minus. You went 5-7 in year 5. Like, these are your recruits. These are guys you brought in. You have zero excuse, and this is the worst Texas A&M has looked in over a decade. So F minus for Jimbo.
F for me. Same thing. You can't be bringing in kids if it's paying people, bringing them in from your recruits. Find a quarterback, find an OC, do something. They're bringing in freaking Bobby Petrino, I think, is their OC. Yeah. So we're gonna see where this goes. So F right now. Mm-hmm. Brian Kelly.
I'm gonna give Brian Kelly an A+. Winning the SEC West in your first year, beating Bama your first year, doing the one thing that every LSU coach, that's what you need to do, is you need to beat Bama. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know how to say it, but really just an all-around fantastic year, especially since I would argue he was the most doubted coaching hire of the offseason.
I'll give him an A. It's kind of like what you said, from doubting to his antics he was doing in the beginning of the year. But he kind of stopped doing it. He laid low. And even after that first week, people wanted his head off. They wanted him fired. How he was able to turn that team around, finish the year strong, beat Bama, beat Ole Miss, get shellacked by Georgia, but turn around and slaughter Purdue. Yeah. Huge. And now you got a good recruiting class coming in. Some decent transfers probably coming in. Mm-hmm. Kelly I give him an A. Actually, sticking with Kelly's Chip Kelly, UCLA.
Chip Kelly, I give Chip Kelly an A for this season. I mean, he really built a good foundation at UCLA, and they looked great. He really made a team that, for the most part, has been wandering, the middle of, just wandering aimlessly for about, since Troy Aikman was there, really. They've been wandering with no, future, no really anything, and he's given them a solid foundation where winning 8 games is not crazy anymore at UCLA.
I give him a B. He needs to win 1 or 2 more the big games, and then get the Pac-12 title games for me.
Yeah, you got to beat USC.
Yeah. All right. 2 more here. Mm-hmm. James Franklin, Penn State.
A B+, only because they can beat everybody but Ohio State and Michigan. They can't beat them. He just cannot beat them, and I don't get it. And I want to give him a higher grade because he does everything but that. But at the end of the day, that's your roadblock, and every single time you get up to that roadblock, you kind of just turn around and walk home.
I give him an A, actually. I do think he still finished 11-2.
Exactly.
A Rose Bowl win. You honestly you let the Ohio State game slip away. Michigan just outplayed you, but you let the Ohio State game slip away. You let Sean Clifford miraculously, they least talked about 11-win team of all time. But listen, they beat the team supposed to be. You could say what it is about the Ohio State Michigan, but 11-2 Rose Bowl victory. First time they've won the Rose Bowl, and God, it's been a while for them. So, yeah, A for James Franklin.
Fair enough.
He does need to take pretty much all good coaches or guys that are in there.
Yeah.
He has to be able to beat one of those 2 teams. But yeah.
You got to win the Big Ten. You got to do this.
Actually, one more before we do our favorite person in the world. Yeah. Mel Tucker, I'll start. He'll get a D, or actually...
No,
he'll get an F. Yeah, he'll give an F. Sure. You were just given a big, giant contract, and you stunk. You were a disgrace. Disgusting. Michigan State was awful. Yeah, F. So...
I don't even know I have words for Mel Tucker, other than, Tuck is not coming.
Tuck's not coming, and F. All right, and our final one before we end the podcast, Billy Napier, Dylan, Florida.
I'm going to give Billy Napier's first season in Florida a D+.
Oh.
Only because They were bowl eligible. Now, were they bowl eligible by the skin
Now,
of their teeth? They were bowl eligible by literal hope and pray against USF, but quite frankly, for a lot of this year, the team was not that great. They had moments of flashes of looking good, but they just. And then you have all the off the field is what I think kills Florida most of all, right? Obviously, we talked about earlier the Jaden Rashada news, them losing out on Cormani McLean earlier in the season, which was, by the way, a crazy flip. I don't know if you're paying attention to that one.
Mm-hmm.
It was crystal-balled everywhere to Florida, and then he announced he didn't even want to go on another visit to Florida, and he commits to Miami. It was just like, man, that's got to hurt for them. Obviously, he
probably knew they didn't have money.
Yeah, the Jalen Kitna situation earlier, the the bowl game against Oregon State. It was just, I have never seen the wheels fall off a program so quickly and so dramatically, from beating Utah to start the year to getting the most embarrassing recruiting mess in the history of college football. It's bewildering.
He'll get a God, I don't even know. I'll give him. He'll get a D-.
Okay.
The fact that they actually had their bowl game just right from this year, stripped from what that disgraceful performance was. Kicking a field goal down 30 is an absolute abomination in itself.
Yeah.
That was not good. Florida fans know that they jumped the gun with Mullen. They hired the wrong guy. He's not suited for this. Too much chaos all around all season. Their best defensive player was kicked off the team for unknown reasons.
Yep.
You have the quarterback issues all year with Richardson. Defense was abominably bad.
Yeah.
Very, very bad. I went to two real Florida games. Went to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Washington game doesn't count, but
yeah.
I was at the LSU game. I was at the Georgia game.
Mm-hmm.
That defense was atrocious. Their quarterback play is bad. The coaching decisions stink. The culture there is not good. It's just overall bad, and now they're stuck with Florida fans, Florida alumni, all that. The university is stuck with the decision they made to stick around with him, and now you're going to see what 6-6 feels like again, maybe. And now it's really, instead of competing for second, Georgia's top in the East. Now who's jockeying for that second spot? For Florida, I mean, it's jockeying for 4th. I mean, you're in the same playing field as Missouri now. Have fun with that.
I would even.
You're in Missouri's territory. No, they are, because
Missouri has a better outlook on next year than Florida does.
They probably do. Because now you got Georgia, Tennessee will be in second. We'll see. South Carolina, I think, will be at 3rd. Yeah. You'll see what Kentucky's all about. You got Missouri. Vanderbilt excuse me. Woo. Sorry, I'm getting caught up. Vanderbilt beat you. I mean, where are you as a university? Mm-hmm. And I just want to...
I just don't...
And honestly, that Utah game, they should have lost it. If Cam Rising doesn't run if they just run the ball, they scored a touchdown. The only reason why they lost that game is because he threw it right there. Mm-hmm. By the way, am I loud?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. You barely beat a USF team that lost every game after its first win against Howard. Yep. So you barely beat them at home. Okay. I don't know. I don't know.
It's just like I don't.
I want to pull up their schedule. I'm going to pull up their schedule, and I'm just going to briefly go through. Mm-hmm. And I know this would seem like a very anti-Florida podcast. It kind of is. It kind of isn't. We're just talking truthfully how we feel. This is no bias. This
I'm
is
gonna be honest
just
with you. I think me and Hunter would both rather Florida be a competitive program that is fun to play against than a team that we both sit here looking at like they
heck
have
yeah.
no like it just feels like they have no like
I
idea
liked
where they're
when
going.
game day was in Jacksonville
Yeah,
for when a couple years ago when they were there 2 out of like the 4 years. I like that. You like when the cocktail party when it's not a 22-point spread. Like I was sitting in that game, I had Florida fans I was sitting in the student section, the Florida student section. I had guys cheering. Whether or not they were drunk or not, who knows? They were cheering because Florida covered the number. Like, that's not what you should be at this point. You shouldn't be celebrating because your team just got their crap kicked in by 22.
yeah.
No. And now I'm going to go through the schedule real quick. Utah, L. McNeese State, win. They get Tennessee at Florida. I don't know about that. Charlotte, at Kentucky. Vanderbilt, at South Carolina. You're Georgia, that's a loss. You get Arkansas at home. I don't know what Sam Pittman and Jefferson are going to be doing this year. You're at LSU. You're at Missouri, and you get Florida State at home. I mean, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 6-6 again. Maybe they might go 5-7.
I think 6-6 is almost like you're looking on. I don't want to say ceiling for them.
And that's
almost feel
if
like
they
you
go to
have to.
Missouri. I think
It
that's
almost-
if you go to Missouri and beat them. And Missouri is like a sleepy hollow place for all these SEC teams to go
I'll
to.
tell you what, Florida never beats Missouri. Like they never win in Missouri. I'll pull up their record right now.
They do. They lost the last time they were there.
I think they lost the time before.
They
that.
barely beat them this year.
I can
But
pull it up right now.
but
'Cause I
listen,
believe
and I think
Yeah. They're 6-6 against each other.
it's not good. That's not good.
No, that's not good.
But this all seems back to we're gonna see what kind of roster they go out next year, but I don't know. They got to go to Kentucky. I think that might be a loss. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, because I mean we'll see. Cade McNamara's going to Kentucky, so wait, no, he's not. He's going to Iowa. Wait, yes, Iowa. Who's going to Kentucky?
Yeah, Iowa.
Who's going to-
Let me see.
No, they were trying to get Graham Mertz, and they didn't.
Well, I mean, that may have been a good thing.
Anyway, all right. Unless you're looking it up, but yeah, I think, and I will be the
Justin
first one to
Wade?
say I'm not.
I don't
Who
know.
knows? Yeah, like I'll be the first one to say, and probably you'll say it too. Like we are, like I just said, like we are probably the least crazy anti-Florida people. Like, no, game week, obviously it's game
It's a little
on, but
bit
like
different then,
just from an overall standpoint, like I just like to say what's on my mind. I try to be unbiased. I mean, I talk about Georgia biasly sometimes, but like even us, like I'll say like I'll point out if there's something wrong.
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm just gonna say it. Shoot straight. I'm a straight shooter with you. I'm gonna say what I feel,
Mhm.
whether you agree with it or not. Don't take it as biased or anything just because it's a Knowles and Dogs. That's the name of the podcast. Like, no,
I'll say
like we just spew college football.
We both do have people in our life who are Florida fans. You know what I mean? Like we're not just stuck in our own mindset. Like like Hunter's girlfriend's a Florida fan. My sister is a Florida fan. You know, like we have plenty of like Florida Gators around us, right? We're not just the most anti-Florida. You know, doing all this. Like we're gonna speak honestly, and we both don't believe in Billy Napier at all.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be up in Gainesville all year next year.
Yeah.
So, listen, I'll be boots on the ground, like ready to roll. So,
He'll
I'll
be
be
reporting
ready for the
Billy
inside
Napier's
scoop.
Firing.
front live from Ben Hill Griffin. I'll be doing the live recording.
When he loses
So-
to Charlotte, you're gonna be doing the live,
Oh God, no!
live from the stadium. So,
From on the SEC Plus, no.
oh man,
Anyway, all right. Before we get too off topic, yeah. So there's our report cards. We'll be doing more stuff like that. Just some fun stuff at the end, keeping you up with news. That's pretty much how this offseason is going to go. We'll throw in some NFL stuff later down the road, but not right now because we're running too late over a little past on time. So
Yeah.
But yeah, so forgot to mention, always make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. We're lacking subscribers, guys. We need some more. Spread the word. Tell you guys we're on Spotify. We're on Amazon Music. Go out and listen to us, watch us, do whatever you want. Tell your friends. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Do it.
Please.
Do it. Come on. Do it. And if you do it, your team will have good luck. Good luck. Unless, you're, Lincoln Riley's defense. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think we do much about that one. That one's it's a lost cause.
All right. All right, we'll get on out of here. But, yeah, hit that subscribe button, guys. We really appreciate you guys listening, following us, watching us. I know I talked to a couple of you guys out there, follow us all the episodes, so appreciate it. Tell your friends about us. Really need it. We love it. Hey, your guys' input, guys. I've heard a couple of guys say they really like it. If you guys know anybody, like I said, or you're just talking, just hey, hit that subscribe button. You see somebody watching YouTube, hey, hit that subscribe button,
I came into work the other day. I had 3 guys tell me they sat down and just listened to us while they were hanging out. I mean, little stuff like that. That's awesome. We really appreciate that. Yeah,
for sure. So, yeah, so we'll be coming out the next episode next week because we'll be a once a week just because of the off season. So, without further ado, guys, see you guys next time.
All right, see you guys.